Because of the following special program, Mr. Merlin will not be presented this evening.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
Hi, I'm Alex Ross.
The two pieces are sort of a type. They're both kind of recreations of artwork that existed in the 90s. In fact, this piece here for the Avengers is in most ways a recreation or a tribute to George Perez's poster version from the mid-90s, where he did a shot that featured in it a figure of Captain America that was very similar to what I've done here, positioning of the Vision or positioning of Hawkeye, and I believe a few other elements are very similar to that piece, and it's consciously so. I was building off that inspiration, but I kind of refitted my design to fill out bigger shots of the figures so that I was making a wider composition and getting in a lot of the same characters, but still not quite as many as what George himself did, because George's thing was always to try and get in the maximum amount of content into pieces that he did.
Welcome back, everybody. Time again for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here, always happy to welcome Stuart Moore back to Word Balloon. Good to see you, Stuart.
Great to be back, John.
Congratulations, man. I know the last time we talked, we spoke about the first book of a Marvel adaptation of Crisis Protocol from Aconite. The publisher is Aconite, and this, of course, is based on the card game. That kind of is a combination of like Magic the Gathering and HeroClix. You got little about inch or 2 inch high, great little plastic statues that are kind of like chess pieces. But it involves dice and cards. But yeah, we're here to talk about the third novel now, and that is Into the Dark Dimension. But I can honestly say that you can jump right in and understand what's going on, especially if you're a longtime Marvel fan. This is the Shadow Avengers up against Dormammu. And, of course, we saw Doctor Strange right there on the cover and stuff. Now, there have been 3 Crisis Protocol books. And you did the first one, Target Kree. And then we had Carrie Harris do Shadow Avengers.
Right.
So tell me who is in the lineup. Because, again, Dormammu takes, am I right in saying this? Dormammu takes almost a dark side kind of persona where he has infiltrated all aspects of Earth and not only has everyone under mind control, but there's a lot of great jokes in there about the various levels. I mean, bottled water is, called Dasani Dormammu or Bed Bath and Dormammu. And
that's Bed Bath and Dormammu. I'm told that joke is dated already because that chain has gone out.
Yeah, they shut down. I know. Where do I buy my bath salts now?
I know. Oh. Well, Dormammu would have fixed that. That would not have happened under Dormammu. But yeah, the 3 books were conceived. I mean, they are technically tied into the Crisis Protocol game, which, as you say, is a collectible miniatures game. All that really meant for me and for Carrie Harris, who wrote the second book, is that we had access to all the big Marvel characters. And our only real instruction related to the game was that there should be a few big battles that could theoretically be played if you were doing the game. But we would have done that anyway. And yeah, the whole thing, I sort of structured the series. I came up with the first one, which is a battle between the Avengers and the Guardians of the Galaxy. That's Target Kree. And at the end of that, the group, the Shadow Avengers, is created by Doctor Strange to fight the unseen menace, which we learn eventually is Dormammu. And Carrie wrote a book just about them trying to fight off this impending invasion. And as my new book, Into the Dark Dimension, opens, Dormammu has won. He's conquered everything. He's conquered all the realms, actually. And as you say, the people of Earth are under mind control. The only person who isn't at the beginning is Doctor Strange, who has his ways. But Tony Stark soon comes free. And Ms. Marvel finds herself, she's very much the pivotal character in this book. She finds herself kind of stuck between the two of them, not sure who to trust because everyone else on Earth is under mind control, and some people might only be pretending they're not. So that's basically Doctor Strange has his own mystical solution for freeing the Earth. Um, Tony Stark cooks up a technical one, which has a lot of problems. And what I really try to do with Tony in this, he's one of my favorite characters to write. And what I tried to do here was put him in a situation where he could not call on the Avengers. There's a threat too big for him to face himself, but he can't call on the Avengers because they're still under this mind control, and he can't manage to free them. So he turns to his other peer group, which is rich tech people. Um, and that doesn't work out very well. One of them is Dr. Octopus, but he tries to put them on this whole scheme to say, and they almost kill each other. They really almost kill him. And the plan itself winds up having a lot of flaws. So the two groups have to sort of come together at a certain point. It's the biggest novel I've ever written on this with Marvel characters, with the most characters I've ever attempted. And it almost killed me, but I think it came out pretty well. I'm very happy with it.
It's a very fun read. Obviously, your DNA is in Marvel and vice versa. So they picked the right guy to write two of these books.
Thank
and
you.
and so how did you connect with Aconite to do these books?
Well, I have a long-standing relationship with Marvel over these. I've written Marvel novels for Marvel itself and for Titan, and they kind of recommended me for this series
Great.
because of the scope of it, because they knew I could. I had a knowledge of all the characters, and I had a certain amount of experience doing it. So that's how it kicked off.
Okay, I'm going to be at the American Library Association
very cool
trade show, which is this month here in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if Aconite's going to be there or not. I know that I've seen Marvel novels represented at this show in past years and stuff.
Yeah, I actually don't know what their plans are there. You may have seen Titan. Titan probably has a presence there, and they've reissued some. Well, I wrote one book for them, and they've reissued some of my others.
That's cool. That's great. Well, again, this current volume of Crisis Protocol is already available. It came out at the beginning of the month, into the Dark Dimension, and you can get all three books. Help, seriously, like read the whole story, man. Start with Target Greed, go to Shadow Avengers, and finish up with Into the Dark Dimension. Definitely.
Hey, you're not going to have any scripted television for a while. Just dive right into this.
Don't kid yourself. Absolutely. Well, and it's summertime. What are you talking about? It's beach reading time.
Beach reading. Yes.
Absolutely,
yes.
Man. No, and truly, it's a fun read. And again, inside jokes like Bed Bath and Dormammu, you'll laugh your ass off. Absolutely, man. And everyone, you understand these characters' voices. They're very much, and it's an interesting blend. It seemed of both comic backstory and also a little MCU stuff as far as films and TV as well.
Yeah, in continuity terms, it's all comics. It's all from the comics. But yeah, I do get myself in voice for these characters by rewatching the movies, but especially the core movies with the main characters, which I find are just they're not just fun and well written. They're really snappy. They really move along really well. And that kind of gets me in the mood to write books. A book like this, too, with all these characters, I want it to be as dialogue heavy as possible. I used to feel like when I started writing these books a little over 10 years ago, I felt like I had to explain who the characters were a little more. And now I think everyone just knows. Everyone's seen those Thanos movies. Everyone knows who Captain America is. Everyone knows who the Guardians of the Galaxy are, which would have been a ridiculous thing to say 10 years ago.
Honestly, Stuart, being friendly enough with Quesada and Bendis when they were planning, and they're like, "Hey, man, we're doing Guardians of the Galaxy," and I'm like, "Why?" And like you said, and it's so true. I mean, Groot and Rocket Raccoon are like beloved by children, and it's like I didn't care about these goddamn characters. And I love what they did with the movies, and they're fun. And it's great, and really, the Guardians are also in this third volume as well.
Yeah, I barely fit them in. Like I wanted to wrap up their
Sure.
story a bit and I should say, as you said, the 3 volumes are designed to be self-contained. You can just pick up
Yeah.
any one and read them. But this one also was designed to be a little bit of a culmination and finish off the overall storyline a bit. So I wanted to get the Guardians back in, and they're mostly in the prologue, which I almost cut
Yeah.
because the book was running long. But it worked so well, and it just explained the situation so well that I kept it in. And Marvel seemed to really like it too, so that was good. That was nice.
That's cool. Yeah, like again, I don't want you to tell stories out of school, but many notes from Marvel, many notes from Aconite. I don't know, as far as any corrective things you had to do.
More on the first book than on this one. The first book, I played a little fast and loose with Ms. Marvel's secret identity, which is not a good thing to do at Marvel. Her identity is supposed to be very secret. Hers and Spider-Man's. And when I started to write this one, I actually have a scene where she tries to deprogram Spider-Man from the mind control, um, and I outlined it, and it passed through everyone. And when I got to writing it, I realized, oh, if I write this as I outlined it, it'll blow both their secret identities like to each other, which they're not supposed to know. So I had to do some dancing around a little bit and change it around, because if I had written it that way, it would not have gone through Marvel. But I'm very attuned to it. Like I've worked with them in a bunch of capacities now, and I'm very attuned to what you can and can't do with the characters. And again, this is a lot of the same characters. It's a lot of new characters actually, Shang-Chi and Cloak and Dagger, but it's a lot of the same characters from Target Kree. So I sort of knew the parameters pretty well. No, there were very few notes on this one. Mostly
Well,
like, can you expand this scene a little bit? Like, because there's so much happening, and that I was happy to do.
Okay. Well, it's a meaty book, man. It's almost 400 pages total.
Yeah.
And I think Kamala Khan fans are going to be pretty happy, especially. Boy, I love what Zeb Wells is doing in Amazing Spider-Man.
Yes, I've just been catching up on that.
And
Yeah.
you might have read that, I think until probably the Marvels movie comes out in the fall, Kamala Khan is dead.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. It's like, that's not, I mean, just in general, as we know, being longtime comic book readers, that's not going to last. But even more so now where it's like,
with her. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, come on, man. Everybody loves her. She's such a popular and right character for this right moment. She's got a big movie coming out. I have a feeling she'll be back before the movie comes out. But that's just me. But that's great, though. I mean, you gave Ms. Marvel a nice adventure in this third chapter and everything. So
and to me, I may have said this on the show before, but to me, the heart of these novels is the relationship between her and Tony Stark, which is a sort of a mentor and mentee relationship.
Yeah.
But what I'm really interested in is the young woman of color and the not older man, but the adult man who basically has all the money in the world. And there's every reason these characters really shouldn't get along, but they just really like and respect each other. And what I like to do is throw things in between them, like the suspicion of the mind control. In the first book, it was a whole labor issue involving some Kree who came to work for Tony and were being mistreated without his knowledge. But I like to throw things between them and see if they can still manage to work together. Because in a larger symbolic way, to me, that's the only hope the world has. People like that can come together and work together despite their differences.
Well, again, Stuart, we're close enough in age where I think we have that perspective of, listen, we believe in what we believe in, but we all live together on this planet. We got to figure out a way of getting along.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you have to abandon your views, but you got to find common ground.
Absolutely.
So again, I think this is very timely in a lot of ways. I didn't finish reading. Elon Musk doesn't show up as part of it.
Well, there's a couple of the whole Musk Twitter thing came up right as I was finishing the book, and there are a couple of Tony's tech friends who sort of resemble him a little bit. Like I took the not to spoiler it too much or anything, but I took the old Iron Man villain Justin Hammer, made him.
I was going to ask if Hammer
Hammer's there, but I decided to make him I turned him into a sort of a New Age Buddhist. So he claims he's this kind of based on a real executive I know, but it's he kind of claims he's he's all enlightened and he's a new man and he's changed and everything, but he's just as vicious and uncaring as he always was. He's just got this gloss on it to make himself feel better. So I don't know if that's not Musk exactly, but there's a hint of it in there.
All right, fair enough. I That's funny. I was watching that movie that Ben Affleck directed, Air, about Michael Jordan and
Oh,
Nike and everything. It's on Amazon.
yeah.
And Phil Knight, I didn't realize how Phil Knight is very much one of those kind of multimillionaires that is very much a Buddhist and believes in all the and I'm blanking right now some of the practices of
Mhm.
the faith and everything. I don't
I'm
want to.
not saying they're all terrible, and I
Oh
haven't
no,
seen the movie, this was just a funny thing to do with Hammer as
yeah,
much as anything else.
no, that's cool. It's like
He's doing yoga in the laboratory. He's
it's
like
like
Tony's like, "What is this? What's going on?" Like, oh, that was
it's like
fun.
it's like Kevin Nealon's character in Grandma's Boy,
I
where he
haven't
was,
seen that.
he was kind of he was very much a granola kind of, find your inner strength.
Yes, that's it. That's what I'm going
Yeah,
for.
yeah. No, I'm with you, man. No, it's a fun read. Honestly, I give you a lot of credit. Everybody, it's out again. It came out at the beginning of the month, so it's available now. I don't know what kind of penetration it got in the comic shops, but certainly available at your book selling brick and mortar stores and Amazon and Barnes and Noble and the like
Yep,
and everything. So,
yep,
uh,
all that. Yep.
yeah. So does this wrap up the story?
It does, yes. I think we're done with the crisis protocol line for now. But yes, it definitely wraps up this set of threads. And again, the first book is about the Avengers versus the Guardians, basically, and it sets up the threat. The second book is about it really focuses on Doctor Strange's group, the Shadow Avengers. Um, and the third book picks up months later when basically the Shadow Avengers have already lost. So they are all very separate. They can all be picked up if you read all three in a row. There are certain threads like there's a there's a there's a whole plot thread that carried a lot with involving Venom that I picked up and that wound up being a key to the third book.
Yeah.
But you don't have to know any of that to read it.
So Venom is in there, Ms. Marvel, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange,
Yeah,
Iron.
I'm getting tired all over again listening to this.
Yeah,
Yes,
no, but honestly, I
it's a
want
lot
I
of
want the
characters.
lineup. I want the Shadow Avengers lineup. I know Luke Cage is in there.
The Shadow Avengers are, yeah, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Ms. Marvel, Luke Cage, and the missing Doctor Voodoo, who they're looking
Yes,
for,
yes, and that's
who's
great.
also pivotal. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so glad. Again, it's so funny. Ironic timing. When 10 years, no, I guess God, it was like 14 years ago, back in 2009, when it was. I don't remember if it was because of Planet Hulk and the Hulk crushing Doctor Strange's hands, but he suddenly became unworthy of being Sorcerer Supreme.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And so they made Doctor Voodoo, Brother Voodoo, of course,
Hmm.
but now Doctor Voodoo, he became the new Sorcerer Supreme. And so yeah, it's ironic timing because I just re-released my interviews with Bendis and Rick Remender when that change was happening and
Oh,
stuff.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think they settled it into a status quo where they sort of share the title. And part of the whole plot of my book is that this is a threat to to all the realms, to the multiverse.
yes,
That's too big for one sorcerer supreme. So that's why Doctor Strange has to find Doctor Voodoo, who's been exiled to some far off dimension by Dormammu in the first book.
that's great. No, and it's interesting. I'm a massive Doctor Strange fan, but I have
Me
to
too.
admit, like I said, it has that kind of dark side overtaking the world that I don't remember seeing Dormammu have that kind of power or attempt this kind of mass control. I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, I don't quite remember that either. I mean, he was always interested in conquest, and he had various different mystic weapons.
Yeah.
Some of where he gets his power is is at least suggested in the first book. But yeah, it was a it I needed I needed a Thanos level threat basically for
Yeah.
this, and this seemed like a good one, especially since the magical nature of it means you have Doctor Strange is kind of in his element a bit, which makes him more of a threat to Dormammu. But Tony tries to solve things via technological means, which is trickier, and that's where he tries recruiting various characters, including Shang-Chi and Cloak and Dagger. Um, And when that doesn't go quite as planned, he that's when he sort of rounds up Justin Hammer and Doc Ock and another Iron Man character, Tiberius Stone, who's Tony's childhood friend and rival.
That's awesome. That's fantastic, man. Very, very cool. Well, again, everybody, you got to check this out from Aconite Books, and it's Into the Dark Dimension, Crisis Protocol, the third volume. But again, there 3 books are out there. You don't necessarily have to read them and everything. Oh, Mike Jones says Tony doesn't like to bargain.
Doesn't like to bargain. I don't know. Yeah, he. Well, he will. At one point, there is a little bit of a haggling with Doc Ock over his fee. I think at one point, like, what are you going to pay me to help you save the world? Basically.
Well, I look forward to getting to that part of the book because it's like I mean, Doc always seems like crazy enough on his own and everything. I can't imagine trying to collaborate with somebody else. So
he was, I was really worried about those 3 characters and whether they were going to be able to carry scenes, especially since Tony's absent. Tony's off trying to recruit Norman Osborn, who's also in this book.
Wow.
Oh, and the Black Panther. I forgot him. He's the other Shadow.
Yes.
He's the other Shadow Avenger.
Indeed.
But and he and Shuri play a part. His sister play a part in this as well. But I was a little worried about how Hammer and Stone and Doc Ock were going to do covering their own scenes, and those were some of my favorite scenes to write. They were I just really set three villains, all in very different places in their lives and with very different mindsets, to work doing something to save the Earth because they kind of have to because they live here too. And I don't know. I hope it worked. It was fun to write.
The other Doc Ock wrinkle I always love is his affection for Aunt May.
Yeah, we didn't really have room to get into that.
No,
we didn't get into the Spider-Man is a crucial character in this, but we don't have much of his own mythology involved in it. It's mostly just him working with the others.
Understood. No, I'm intrigued by this Shadow Avengers lineup, and I mean that's a component of the game, obviously as well. I looked up the game. I'm not a gamer, but I certainly respect it, and looks like it's fun. And like I said, it's kind of a cross between Magic and Heroes Clicks. It's serving Heroes Clicks and everything.
It's put up by the parent company of Aconite Books is Asmodee, which is a very large gaming company, and it's run by some of the same guys who started Warhammer. And the gameplay is actually pretty similar to Warhammer. I think it's the same.
That's what I've heard.
Set up with the little and they're very nice miniatures.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't gotten too deep into the game myself, but so I try to put in a few nods and references to it throughout the books.
Mike is on a humor kick now. He says he's impressed that Stuart was able to use the word crisis.
They
on a Marvel book. Indeed.
They were already doing it. It's already on the game. Yeah, it's no comment. I've worked with both companies. I love them both.
Of course you have and did. Absolutely, man. No, that's cool. Hey, we all remember. And by the way, everybody, if you have old Marvel questions or old Vertigo and DC questions, Stuart's here for you to talk about whatever you want. That's great. No, again, everybody, it came out on May 6th, so all 3 volumes are available now. Do you will you see possibly more novels with Aconite?
It's possible. We don't have anything right now. I'm actually talking with another company I can't talk about doing something else Marvel related right now.
Okay, no problem. I did want to get into some Ahoy stuff with you. Of course, there's Captain Ginger and Highball, right?
Right. Yes.
And but also they just announced this anthology that you're part of that's coming out in the fall. And I don't know how much you can or can't talk about that.
I think I can talk about it. It's called Project Cryptid. It's edited by Sarah Litt, who's Ahoy's senior editor. And yeah, I've written one story for it. It's all about it's an anthology of stories of cryptozoology, imaginary creatures like mythical creatures like the Yeti, the Jersey Devil, who just might feature into my story. I'm from Jersey originally, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to work. It was a lot of fun to write. We're about to solicit it. It starts in September, and along with it, we announced a project that I'm sort of overseeing, which is Ahoy Comics all have these short prose stories, like with like illustrated prose stories in the back.
Yes.
And in in the fall, September is Ahoy's 5th anniversary, actually. And for the 5th anniversary, we're going to do a serialized one that runs through 13 books.
Wow.
It's called "Partially Naked Came the Corpse!" Which was the title come up with by the guy who wrote the first part, which is Grant Morrison. And he wrote a very funny, very involved, extra long story that will be in the back of Project Cryptid #1. And that kicks the whole thing off. And then we've got a whole bunch of other writers involved. Mark Russell, who's also got a story in Project Cryptid. Alex Segura just signed up Torrin Grunbeck, who writes Thor for Marvel and Punisher War Journal. There's a whole lot of other people. Bryce Ingman, Carrie Harris is actually involved.
Oh, that's great.
She sold a story to. I was working with her on the Marvel book. She sold a story to Ahoy without me even knowing it. So that was cool. But yeah, so that'll be fun. I'm putting that's a logistical feat, making sure we can have one installment ready every week.
Yeah.
But it's coming together really well. I think Grant just set up a whole lot of different characters, and people are just having fun moving them around and adding little twists and stuff. So I think it'll be interesting. And I'm scheduling myself to write an installment kind of near the end. I don't want to finish it off, but I want to do one kind of near the end in case the plot has wandered too far off. I can corral it back together. So.
Is it like DC Challenge or the Commandy Challenge?
It's very much like that, except in prose. Yeah, I think, and this is one of the inspirations for the title, but in prose it tends to be known as an exquisite corpse story. After a God, I can't remember the source, but
okay.
It's the same thing where you hand off from one writer to the next, and they it's done with artwork too, but
sure.
But you can, but you hand off the story from one writer to the next, and everyone writes a different installment.
I think it was much more successful when DC did it with the Commandy Challenge. Do you remember trying to read the DC Challenge back when we were kids?
I do, yeah.
I mean, it was like so exciting because all these different heroes were in it, and it's like I have no idea what's happening in this book, none whatsoever.
Well, I'm a little conscious of that as the person coordinating this Ahoy thing,
sure.
Because I do want to make sure it doesn't go too far off the rails, and that's why I'm cheating a little bit by inserting myself into the process at some point. But we'll see how it goes. We're about 4 installments into it now, and it's coming together great so far.
That's good to hear, man. Hey, thanks to Ahoy for sponsoring Word Balloon earlier this month.
Happy to do it. Yeah.
Hey, and man, I've been a booster of Ahoy from day one. I really appreciate what you guys are doing. I think there's plenty of room for great humor comics, and you've got the right people writing them, like Pyre and Mark Russell and the like, and yourself, Jamal Eigel, and on the art side and everything. These are great books, man. I love Billionaire Island. I'm a massive Wrong Earth fan. Dragonfly, man, absolutely a great concept, great idea.
And I think we've announced this now. Also, as part of the 5th anniversary in October, November, December, we're going to have a 2-part Wrong Earth story series by Tom and Jamal that follows the last one, and a 2-part Captain Ginger thing by me and June Brigman that'll sort of cap off that story a bit.
Excellent.
And we've got one more. We've got one more special, I think, in January that I can't announce yet, but it's also part of the anniversary.
And you got Paul Cornell coming in and writing something new for you guys as well.
Yeah, Con and On. That's a really nice book. It has no particular science fiction or fantasy elements to it, but it's about a group of people who attend a major comic convention every year, and it picks up with them like down the years a bit, like every 5 or 10 years, so you see what they're up to. It's got a lot of heart to it, and I think it's going to take people by surprise. I think it's really good.
Well, a good timing right after San Diego. Coming out, so yeah, it's going to be. No, I'm excited for that. And again, Cornell, another guy who knows how to write adventure and also knows how to write humor.
Yeah, he's great.
That's great that you guys. I don't know how that happened. I'll wait and talk to Paul when the time comes and everything to hear.
I remember talking to him about it at San Diego at one point, but I don't remember exactly how this book came together. I think he was talking to Tom about that for a while.
Stuart, are you in the WGA? Are you in the Writers Guild at all?
I am not. No, I've never done TV or film work. I was just I was just out with a friend who I used to work with at DC, who's a writer and executive producer for actually for And Just Like That, the Sex and the City continuation, and
Yes.
she was telling me a lot about it. She was telling me about how this time around it's much more coordinated and organized because they're all on social media, so they're all being told like we need protesters here, and they get deployed.
Wow.
And she's in New York, and she also said there's a lot more film production here than there was 15 years ago. So there's a lot more action and a lot more picketing going on in New York. Yeah.
Well, that's good because I mean, for people who don't know that are watching or listening, there are subdivisions of the union where there's WGA East and WGA West. So that's great. Hey, I'm a member of SAG, Screen Actors Guild.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I forgot that.
I cast my vote too. Absolutely, we gotta go on strike. I mean, it's easy, and I will say, podcasting is not included in the agreement, so I'm able to podcast no matter what. I haven't done a broadcast job in a while, but I am still in the union, and I'm like, this is important. It's everybody has to support this because I mean, I'm preaching to the choir and I'm stating the obvious. The money, the people who are holding the money and all the power and stuff are really showing a real cold attitude, not only for the encroachment of AI, but also just basic things like writers' teams can't get insurance benefits.
Yeah,
individual writers can, and I mean, I've already had these conversations with other WGA / comic book writers who have told me that the amount of work now involving pitching a series that has to be done without fees to kind of figure out the show. They're going to the writers with that stuff, and it's like, hey, you're making us write for literally no money.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about that. I've been hearing a lot about that one actually. Yeah.
So I mean, this it's got to stop. And man, I just read an article on Slate about how and not to, believe me, there's plenty of blame, but I guess Max, the new streaming website for HBO, formerly HBO Max, for a minute they redesignated directors, writers, whatever, as just in general creators.
I saw that. I haven't read about it. Did they fix that? Did
they say that was well, we're sorry, and that I haven't checked to see if they fixed it, but I know that the Directors Guild is like, and again, we can swear on the show, hey, fuck you.
Yeah.
And it's like, and man, it's like, don't disrespect each discipline, skill, and union that represents a different component in making this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's really, and then I did see the video of David Zaslav or whatever his name is at Boston University. He gave the convention.
I heard about that.
And they're like, pay your writers.
Pay your writers.
And it's like, good for you guys. Absolutely. And again, man, social media, it's so interesting, Stuart. I appreciate you going on this tangent with me because really, I think back just, 17 years ago on the last writer's strike, and how different the problems were then compared to now. And and also, again, like you said, they're a lot more organized now because of social media.
Yeah, and you've had a sort of a boom in streaming that is really declining now too. So no matter what, there are probably going to be fewer jobs. There are probably going to be fewer writing jobs. So you need to protect people. Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that 97% of the WGA voted in favor of this strike, that really tells you something.
Yeah, man. Well, and also another percentile thing to consider, it really is this bottom half of the writers that can't even make like a decent yearly salary. And it's like, come on, that's wrong. That is so wrong on so many levels. So thank you, HR. I'm glad you find it interesting. And Mike says, venture capitalists have been Thanos and the various unions coming together like that last scene in Endgame. Sure it is. Absolutely, man. Anyway, back to happy stuff. Something, and again, I've talked to you before about how much I've enjoyed like your Namor series at Marvel. I always thought that was a really great series. One I didn't know about because I was looking at your credits at the end of this current book, and I didn't know you had written this Stargate Atlantis thing for Avatar. That's awesome, man. Yeah. I love Stargate. I'm a massive Stargate fan.
Yeah, I sort of immersed myself in it. I hadn't been a big fan, but I watched a lot of it. I had, and that was long enough ago, actually, that I wrote that I think I have videotapes that I think I was
Ah,
literally taping the show off the air
sure.
to watch it. I mean, not Atlantis was brand new at that point, but SG1 I'd been watching a lot of. And yeah, it's fun stuff. You know, it's cheesy in spots. You can tell the points where they run out of money. You know,
Sure.
but yeah, it's great stuff. The cast is really charming, very clever. They kept coming up with different. I mean, that show was on SG1 was on for a long time, and
10 years.
they kept
Yeah.
coming up with different takes on the premise, like what you did with the gates, where how it worked, and giving Earth secret starships and things by the end. That
Oh,
was kind
yeah.
of fun.
Oh,
Yeah,
no, it was a ton of fun, and man, I give them credit for able to go on when Richard Dean Anderson decided to pull back a bit
yeah.
because his kid wanted, I know she was a dancer or something, and he really wanted to help her with that. So he kind of slowly kind of pulled back. At first was just reduced scenes, and then finally left it, and then they get Ben Browder from Farscape to be the new guy in charge in SG1 or the main character.
They had Bo Bridges for a while, didn't they?
He
He
took
was on for
over
a while. Yeah.
yeah, he was the new general.
Oh, he was the general. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he took
yeah.
over, but you're
Mhm.
right. Don Davis's
Yeah.
character left, and then Bo Bridges came in. Bo Bridges was great. I mean,
Mhm.
and they had a lot of that. And in Atlantis, if you love Jason Momoa and Aquaman, you got to see him on
That's
Atlantis
right.
and stuff. He was terrific on that show.
I blocked that out. I forgot he was on that. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, it's a really I mean, I always thought the premise was and this was in the movie, but you didn't notice it quite as much in the movie, but the premise was so clever because it was like Star Trek in the present day. Like they could just walk through that gate and there they are in another world. So it was like the way a ship would visit a
Yeah,
different planet every week, but you could do it today. It was it's just the cleverest thing in the world, I thought.
like I said, I'm a massive fan to this day. I really hope there've been rumors and false starts with potentially a new series. I am so for it. However they want to do it, if they want to reboot it or make it a continuation or a combination, I have no idea.
Mhm.
But my only concern was Brad Wright, the original showrunner, did submit a pitch, and I guess MGM/Amazon turned it down.
Oh.
And I'm like, come on, man, that's like Roddenberry writing something, and then we're not interested. We're going to do
Yeah.
our own thing.
It's definitely it's a real durable idea. You could just start it up again anytime.
Absolutely, man. No, and I even Stargate Universe, I appreciate
That
it.
was fun. That was fun.
Atlantis to me was almost like their Deep Space Nine,
Mhm.
and yeah, and Stargate Universe was kind of their Galactica.
It was definitely their Galactica. Yes, that was what they were trying for. I kind of liked it because it was like Galactica, but without all the hideous depression.
Yes,
Like it
yeah,
was,
more
so,
optimistic.
and I respect Galactica for that. Like it was an impressive piece of work. But this was sort of like that, but just a little easier. Just like-
Hilarious. No, I'm with you, man. Absolutely. And I always said it's funny. I'm talking right now with everybody on audio. I like, I listen, folks. I'm a slob. I am the son of Oscar Madison. I completely admit that. But I'm slightly in the dark, and especially like Stargate Universe was just like Galactica, where it's like, all right, let's put the
Yeah.
dimmer switches on. Let's have it a little darker. A little, literally, it's a darker show.
The
And it's like,
third season of Picard was a lot like that too. Actually, there
oh
that
God,
ship was
yes.
really dark, which I loved it. I thought it was fun. But yeah,
Me
I
too.
was watching it on my iPad, and I was like, I can barely see this. Like,
I kept saying to misquote the cell line for Alien. I'm like, in space, nobody pays the electrical bill.
there you
It's
go.
like, I'm like, what's going on, man? Somebody, hey, can you light a candle? I know we're out of power, but Jesus, I can't even see my hand in front of my face, for God's sake. I loved season 3 of Picard.
Yeah, I did too.
Massive, massive improvement. I don't know how you felt about the first 2 seasons, Stuart.
I thought the first season was ambitious, but didn't work at all. Like, I kind of like I liked a lot of the concepts behind it. Second one didn't really gel for me. Yeah,
No, no, in that first season, I think there were a lot of intriguing ideas,
yeah,
but they didn't come together.
no.
Or they abandoned ideas too,
Yeah, they threw too much up in the air, I think, and somehow it didn't feel cohesive at all, and at the end, the ending didn't really work very well. So
Well,
yeah.
and even I mean, and everyone, just to clarify, this is John saying this. This isn't Stuart. I don't want anything misread. But even the Raffi Seven relationship, which literally is like one of the final seasons or scenes in Picard season 1 of them holding hands, and it's like, where did that come from?
Yeah, it just
And
came out of nowhere. Yeah.
and it's like, hey, I'm cool with it. That's great. But it's like, maybe set it up a little bit more next time.
Yeah, they had too much going on.
Yeah, but whatever. I mean, again, they corrected. The funny thing is, the big question is the success of season 3 going to get to the producers and go, okay, this is the kind of Star Trek we want, kids. We appreciate your fresh ideas, but just like we said about the 2 seasons of Picard, not a lot of them gel, in my opinion.
Right. I love Strange New Worlds. I think that's working. But and I'm looking forward to that coming back. But they so set up a new show at the end of Picard that they haven't announced it. Like they're either playing coy or they haven't quite decided yet. But
one of the two, yeah. And the writer's strike certainly doesn't help.
That's true.
But also, I love Michelle Yeoh ever since Crouching Tiger, the first time I ever saw her. I think she's incredible. Loved her in the Bond movie that she made with Pierce Brosnan. Always a fan. The character on Discovery, though, her original captain was fine, but this mirror universe version of that character, it's like, she's a villain, and like not just any villain. She was even eating Saru's people,
right,
when they were in the mirror universe, and it's like, hey, now we're gonna follow her, Mir Giorgio, and I'm like, I don't want to see that. I don't think it's redeemable, frankly.
On the other hand, I actually think Michelle Yeoh was much better as that character. Like I think she had a little
more fun. It was
much more fun, and I don't think she's one of those actors who's particularly suited to a lot of techno jargon, which was kind of what you have to do as captain, So I liked her. I liked her better as the Empress. But I agree with you, especially as they got into season 3, it turned into more of a problem.
Yeah, man, and also, God, I hated the way they changed the Guardian forever and made him a guy.
Yeah,
and it's like okay, whatever. Yeah. And I mean, and also, man, the only thing that they're using too much of, well, there's 3 things in new Star Trek that it's like, quit going to the well, please. I think the well's dry. I'll start with the obvious one, the Borg, which again we saw with Picard. It's like, and I think they used it well, but it's like, all right, this is like the 3rd bite of the apple regarding the Picard series with the Borg, and it's like, enough, God. But again, they stuck the landing, so I'll cut them slack. Khan, of course, way too much Khan, way too much Khan. And also, I was talking to a friend about Strange New Worlds. By the way, Stuart, I appreciate the Star Trek tangent.
I love Star Trek. I'll talk
excellent.
Anytime.
I figured, obviously, you're keeping up, so it's cool. Listen, what was my point? Oh yeah. All right. So on Strange New Worlds, La'an on Strange New Worlds, being a descendant of Khan's, isn't it like? I mean, and my shorthand for that is, hey, look who joined the crew. This woman, I've never heard of her before. Her name is Susie Hitler, and she's now a crew member. And 10 years from now, they're going to run into Hitler, and it's going to, Khan, and it's going to, and again, they're all the 60s shows, so it's not going to be like, I think I met someone with that name. And I mean, my God, it's not like a one appearance episode thing. Like, I am very curious to see if they have a legitimate writer's
plan.
Do that, because it's right now, like I said, it's like, and especially what they're planning for season 2, based on the trailer, that she and Kirk are gonna have some sort of flirtation.
Oh, okay. I didn't even see that.
I just met this incredible woman. Her name is Susie Hitler, and she's really great. It's like, okay, I'm interested. And also, I really wanted. Oh, go ahead on that if you want, if any.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I just hadn't seen the trailer, so I didn't know that. That's wild.
Oh, you gotta watch it, man. No, you'll die. I mean, then they've shown like photographs from this coming season of La'an and Kirk together on some sort of storyline. So that's fine. Whatever. We'll see. But I have to say that last episode, and again, on balance, I really like Strange New Worlds. I think Anson Mount is incredible.
Yeah.
Ethan Peck has grown on me. I am
I
optimistic that they will give Rebecca Romaine more to do, because whenever she was on screen, I'm like, this is great. And
I sort of wondered if there was an actor availability problem there, because they kept setting up La'an to replace her. But they seem to want her on the show. Like, they seem to want Rebecca Romaine on the show. So I wondered if that was just an actor thing that they might
could be. No, you might be right. No, that's very fair. I'm excited to see Carol Kane be the new
Oh,
engineer.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, I love Nurse Chapel too. I think she's a lot of fun.
Oh God, no, Jess. First of all, Jess Bush. My God, what I mean, a lovely actress, but also I think brings a real energy and spirit to Chapel. No disrespect to Majel Roddenberry, but it was just
There
different.
wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't much of a
Yeah,
character really
yeah.
back then. Yeah.
So no, it's a great opportunity with her. But I have to say that last episode where they redo Balance of Terror,
Yeah.
and it really is such a classic episode. It felt like to me, and as a writer, I wonder what you think of this. It felt like they missed a lot of the emotional resonance of the original. I mean, no one's going to replace Mark Lennard as the Romulan captain, but he really brought this gravitas and sympathy to the character. And it's like they blew off that entire storyline. And it's like, I know it was important that it was more Pike's story, but it felt like watching a community college production of Balance of Terror. And it's like, and also, no disrespect to Paul Wesley as an actor, I feel he's horribly miscast as James.
As Kirk.
He has no Kirk vibe to me whatsoever.
I'm gonna have to watch that episode again because I managed to freak myself out because literally the week before it aired, not knowing anything about that episode, I was either just thinking about Star Trek or I saw something and I thought, I've always heard that the Balance of Terror episode is based on a war film called the Enemy Below, which is a submarine warfare film with Robert Mitchum, and I thought I should watch that. So I think I rented it and I watched it and I liked it,
Yeah,
and then I thought that was fun. Maybe I'll watch Balance of Terror again. So I watched Balance of Terror and I was and I compared the two and they're different. They're similar in some ways and they diverge a bit at the end. And that was, I thought that was fun. And then literally like 2 days later, this finale of Strange New Worlds airs, and they're showing me the same scenes. Like they're redoing it. So I was more just creeped out at myself. And then I wasn't really able to judge. I liked the episode. I liked the Pike stuff quite a bit. Kirk, I'm not sure about. Like I don't think I feel as strongly about it as you do, but I'm not sold on him yet. I agree about the Romulan stuff. That actor did not have he didn't have the, as you say, the gravitas of, but also, like you said, that they weren't focusing on that at all. Like they that was pushed off to the side, and it was already a longer than normal episode, I think. So yeah, they really had to do with the Pike stuff. I liked it. I thought it had a nice energy that pulled you through it. But I'm gonna have to watch it again sometime when I'm not convincing myself I'm some sort of witch who's conjuring things into being by watching old movies.
That's a great movie, Enemy Below. I know it was on Netflix for a really long time. I don't know if it's still there.
Yeah, I couldn't find it. I think I had to rent it. And it doesn't cost much. But yeah, it's got some great scenes, like the guy just repairing some of the weapons stuff on the top of the destroyer, and he literally chops off some fingers like out of nowhere. Like it just happens. And it's in what's otherwise a fairly psychological, like, see both sides. And I believe what it was known for at the time, what was pioneering about it, was kind of what you were just talking about with the Romulans, where we saw both sides. We saw the German commander in the U-boat, as well as what was going on the surface with the destroyer with Robert Mitchum. Yes. So we saw both sides of that conflict, and that was really nicely done.
Tora Tora Tora, the World War II movie, was another one that showed the Japanese perspective as well as the Allied perspective and everything. Now, HR, I know you're teasing, but I'm going to turn this into a serious thought and hear what Stuart has to say. He says, "Where's Kojak in space?"
I do that.
Absolutely. Well, as you likely know, Stuart, there was that series that I really felt like the Green Lantern Corps was based on, The Lensman, that Doc Smith, the great pulp writer, had that series. And it's cops in space.
Yeah.
And so, honestly, HR, I would love to see that. And I would suggest, I don't know if the Lensmen are in public domain or not, because it was pretty early, like 30s and maybe even late 20s or whatever.
I don't think they're in public domain. If they are, they'll just be popping into it now. There have been some, I know there were manga adaptations, there were anime adaptations, but but yeah, I don't think that stuff's ever been adapted in America.
But no, and really, if you everybody, if you read old pulps from the 40s and stuff, there are a lot of space cop pulp stories that very much could be procedurals, but they just happen to be taking place on in space on another planet or whatever. So yeah, no, I think that's great. I am looking forward to Stranger Worlds. It's awesome, Stuart. Again, if being a Trek fan, you'll appreciate this. Terrificon and Mohegan Sun. It's they've got Frakes coming.
Mm-hmm.
So they got Riker. They have Terry Farrell, Jadzia Dax.
Oh, nice. Mm-hmm.
They have Andrew Robinson, Garrick,
Mm-hmm.
and they have oh damn it, who's the four? Wayun.
Okay.
Oh, so they got Garrick. Yeah, Andrew Robinson is Garrick, and they've got.
He's Garrick and Wayun, isn't he? Or is he? He played two characters.
Or one of them is just right. Andrew Robinson is Garrick.
Okay.
And I can't remember the guy's name, but he was also Shran on Enterprise, and he's played a lot of, and he played Brunt on Deep Space Nine as well as playing Wayun. I forget the actor's name right now, but the four of them are going to be there. So I'm
nice.
I'm a pig in shit. I'm very excited.
very good.
I won't deny. And also, Frakes, Jeannie Francis is coming as well with Frakes, his wife.
Yep.
Of course, Laura from General Hospital. And last spring, I got to interview Frakes, and I'm like, "Hey, man, I hope I'm not being a creep, but I've had a crush on your wife since high school." And he goes, "Oh no, she loves that. I'll tell her. She'll love it." I'm like, "Okay, thank you. I'll keep a respective distance when I see them at the convention." But it's gonna be a lot of fun. Too goddamn funny. Cool. So what else, Stuart? What are you watching? What are you reading?
What am I reading? I'm in the middle of a 5-volume series of novels by Mark Danielewski called The Familiar, which is all very surreal, David Lynchian, Grant Morrison kind of stuff.
Cool.
And it's one of these things that builds very slowly, and it's very experimental. Lots of typography tricks, lots of illustration. Fun stuff. You have to you have to give yourself over to it. You have to move it. You have to let it go at its pace. So I've been reading that. I'm reading a book by Cory Doctorow and
I love Cory.
I think her name is Jenny Leggett. It's called Choke Point Capitalism, and it's a collection of some of his essays, but it's worked in with this other woman's work as well. And it's just kind of about a lot of the problems, especially in creative media these days, that we're having with the increase of monopoly companies like Amazon and Facebook,
sure,
and Amazon, and what all that means. The first half of the book is analyzing the situation. The second book half, which I haven't gotten to yet, is largely supposed to be prescriptions for what creative people can do to either work with this, work around it,
wow,
it, whatever. So that's a really interesting book. I'm into that. TV, you have been watching a lot of Jeopardy. I don't know,
but I love Jeopardy. In fact, I might be doing trivia, live trivia nights at a bar, and I'll be playing the audio for it on Word Balloon podcasts and stuff. We're in the midst of kind of figuring out if we can do it or not. So
very nice.
I love Jeopardy. I'm very, and
of course, I'm watching Succession, which is almost over. So
that's cool.
That's a lot of fun.
How about Are you watching White House Plumbers?
No. Is that good? I keep seeing the ads. Yeah, I like the cast.
And David Mandel, who was a great Seinfeld writer and Curb writer.
Yep.
He's the showrunner.
Yeah, Veep.
Yeah, and I was going to say absolutely Veep. I think it's funny. As it gets on, it keeps getting funnier. Justin Theroux is fantastic as Gordon Liddy, and Woody Harrelson is terrific as Howard Hunt as well. And I mean, I don't know about you. I remember those Watergate hearing summers very vividly.
Oh yeah.
And also, you see both Liddy and Hunt at their homes in this kind of bedroom DC adjacent community, and man, coming from that kind of Chicago suburb, it just feels like suburbia in the 70s.
They got it. They
really did. And I was telling Howard Chaykin that a couple of weeks ago because he really related to that porno New York series that
Yeah,
HBO made. I can't remember the name.
the Deuce, the
The-
David Simon series.
There
Yeah,
you go. It
yeah.
was the Deuce,
Mhm.
absolutely. And Howard was always like, "Yeah, if you squint and look really hard, you can see me in the background on a lot of those scenes." And exactly, and I'm like, Howard, that's exactly how I feel about White House Plumbers. I'm like, I know those neighborhoods, man. I
Wow.
can hear the cicadas chirping on an August night the way you do and everything. Oh, it's just really so. Yeah, they really have the feel of
I
that
think
period.
I'll have to watch that. I think I'd get my wife to watch that too. She's a big Justin Theroux fan.
I never really had an opinion of him other than knowing that he wrote Tropic Thunder and how
Right.
great Tropic
Yeah.
Thunder
God,
is.
that's brilliant. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was just on this week, one of my favorite podcasts, Saturday Night Live podcast that David Spade and Dana Carvey do together,
Hmm.
and it's called Fly on the Wall, and he was the guest on that. Funny as hell, and
Mhm,
it's like,
mhm.
all right, now I know what Jennifer Aniston saw in this
I
guy.
know. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, pretty cool guy, and really got accomplished director, writer, actor.
Yeah, all of
Jeez.
it.
Yeah, pretty neat, man. So I mean, yeah, so that's what I'm watching. I don't know. I haven't sat down with either Quadromania or whatever it's called, the Ant-Man movie, or Shazam 2. But now that they're streaming, I'm gonna have to watch them.
I'm
So
still behind. I haven't even seen Thor yet, so
ah,
yeah. I'll get to them. I'll get to them all.
I hear you, man. I absolutely hear you. Well, this is great story. Am I miss? Oh,
Yeah.
you know what? One other thing I wanted to ask you about before we wrap, and that is these Zodiac. Is it Zodiac that you're doing? What's the Stan Lee property that you're writing and moving forward? Is that what it's called? Zodiac or something else? Forgive me.
Well, it was the Zodiac Legacy. That was 3 volumes. That's I wrote those a few years ago. They all came out between I think 2015, 2017, 2018, something
Oh,
like
so it
that.
was before Stan passed and everything.
Yeah. He was active in the process. So yeah, those were and those are all out from those are all available from Disney Press. There are 3 middle grade volumes about
Yeah.
a group of teenage superheroes from different countries, all with different powers from the Chinese zodiac. And
Oh,
Stan created them. We were co-writers on it. It was all published through Disney. They're heavily illustrated middle grade books with art by Andy Tong, and his art is beautiful. By the way, they're really nice volumes. Disney did a really good job putting them all together.
what did you have a chance to directly collaborate and talk to Stan about the stories and stuff and what he wanted? And
It wasn't close. He was getting on by then,
oh,
like
sure, sure,
he and but I got feedback on everything. I did the bulk of the writing,
sure.
but it was like the Disney had initiated the project before I came on. They even had some artwork by Andy when I came on. So I kind of picked it up and ran with it a bit, and yeah, it was no, it was a very satisfying uh it was great just working with getting to know Stan a little bit and working
Yeah,
with him. And he I actually that was the second time I worked with him. First time was when I was an editor at Marvel Knights. This is a little over 20 years ago. And before I started, Joe Quesada, who was my boss, had arranged for Stan to script, just do dialogue on a 3-page story that Gene Colan had drawn that had been plotted by his webmaster, Gene's webmaster, just for fun. But Joe decided we should run it in the back of an anniversary issue of Daredevil. Like, great. So I called up Stan's office, and it was the old Stanley Media, the one with the guy who got sent to jail, I think.
yes.
But so I called him up, and I Stan on the phone. I've never worked with him before at this point, and I say, I know Joe talked to you about this. I just wanted to see if you were still interested. And he said, 3 pages. I think I can handle it. And then it all came together beautifully. And when it was all done, he sent me one of these Spider-Man bookmarks, these rather not very fancy looking Spider-Man bookmarks that he had that he would send people. And it just said, hey, Stu, thanks for taking a chance on a new guy, Stan. And I still have that. So that was great. So yeah, it was good working with him again. We did a great signing. I think it was 2015 at the Disney booth at San Diego.
Oh, at Comic Con. Okay, I
Yeah,
figured it was either Comic Con or D23.
yeah.
So yeah,
No,
that's
that was
great,
great.
man.
That was great.
Oh, that's excellent. No, and it's just like your experience. Paul Cornell did, I believe it was Paul, that when Stan did a bunch of heroes for Boom, I think Paul did the heavy lifting for that and everything.
Yeah.
I believe it was Cornell. But yeah, or even Brian. That like I know at one point, and Brian talked about this on Word Balloon Bendis. That Stan had an idea for like a whole new. In fact, it might have been the same line of heroes that Cornell eventually wrote the stuff.
Mhm.
But Brian had meetings with Stan, and this was early 2000s, and he's like, hey, he goes, yeah, Stan was an older man and everything. He said, but the mind was still sharp. He
Oh, the
was,
mind was sharp. His energy was incredible. Like
God, yeah.
Disney, they used him a lot for the early promotion on the Zodiac Legacy, and he would just stride out on there on the stage. And his vision was failing at that point, like.
Yeah,
But he was just amazing. He was amazing. I had that when we did the signing in San Diego. He one of the uh, I was sitting next to him, and I sort of realized at a certain point part of what part of my job was to repeat what people said to him because his hearing was going with him too. And but he was like somebody came up and said, "Oh, Mr. Lee, it's so nice to meet you. I came all the way from Mexico to meet you." And Stan goes, "What?" And I just like leaned in his ear and I said, "He came all the way from Mexico to meet you." And Stan was like, "Oh, that's so great. You came all the way from Mexico. Thank you. Thanks for coming." Like he was just perfectly gracious and wonderful. The best moment, though, I won't keep you. I think we're running over.
No, you're all good, man. We don't have to like rush. But
Oh, it's not radio, is it? Yeah.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the next show's getting started. The story.
Sorry, we're off the air by now. Yeah, but no, the best moment was when uh, somebody came up and said, "Oh, this is so great. I get to meet my idol." And Stan actually heard that one, but without even thinking, I just said, "Yeah, and him too." And I pointed at Stan, and Stan just whacked me. He just backhanded me like this, kind of hard. And I turned over. I'm like, "Oh my God, have I offended this guy?" Like I was just I was mortified. It was just like a comedy impulse. Like I was just
Sure.
and I turn and look at him, and he's grinning at me, and he just says, "Nobody likes a wise guy."
Art and Franco, the Tiny Titans creators, and a lot of DC work, and over the years,
Yeah.
they would see him at shows, and literally they'd be like, "Hey, Stan, you remember us? We're the Tiny Titans guys." He'd go, "Yeah, you're DC guys. I got no time for you." And he would totally shit on them, teasing them and stuff. So yeah, no, it's that, and also God, Alex Saviuk was drawing the Spider-Man Daily strip.
Yeah.
And he was going over Stan's brothers pencils and everything. So it was really kind of cool. It's Alex and it's why am I blanking?
Larry Lieber.
Larry Lieber, of course.
Yeah.
Jim, end of the week burnout, whatever, I don't know.
Yeah,
but no, it was I own like a couple of those strips, and it is so awesome to think that it's like, God, it's the Lieber brothers and Alex, and it's this fantastic little. They're great. They're very classic soap opera Spider-Man moments.
Yeah.
And is watching TV, and Peter's checking on her. "Well, you go ahead, dear. You've got your own life. I'm all right on my own." And she's crying. And there's one of those fantastic panels where it's half Peter, half Spider-Man, and the thought bubble says, "Some problems even Spider-Man can't fix."
Mm-hmm.
And it's so great because it really is this terrific, like, classic, like, just I bought that strip just for that one panel.
It's like Spider-Man concentrate, right? Like it's all just distilled down into those few panels. Yeah.
Man.
Cool. Yeah.
Oh no, it's man, I miss comic strips. I really do. It's sad. I mean, it's sad enough that we don't have. I mean, and there. By the way, everybody, there are like the King feature line. You can subscribe to digitally get your own virtual comics page that you can make up. I forget how many strips they give you, maybe 10 or 15 for daily and Sunday strips, and you can combine modern strips with classic runs. So I'm reading Alex Raymond Flash Gordon next to Spider-Man, next to my favorite boxing comic strip, Big Ben Bolt, done by John Cullen Murphy. Great stuff, man. And I always love talking to creators that worked on strips, or even maybe still work on strips. Guys like Terry Beatty. Terry Beatty's doing Rex Morgan, MD, and God, again, I'm blanking on names right now. I'm going to look at my wall and see if it'll help me. It's not helping me. One of the guys that worked on Prince Valiant in recent years and stuff, and Mark Schultz. I love talking to Mark about different strip work he's done. Yeah, I don't know, man. I always buy those IDW coffee table compilations of the books. Of the strip.
I have some of those too. Yeah,
absolutely, man. Well, this is great, Stuart. No,
Yep.
I appreciate it, man. Good conversation.
Absolutely.
Reminding everybody again, the third volume of Crisis Protocol, the Marvel three-book series, wraps up with the new book by Stuart, Into the Dark Dimension.
To the Dark Dimension.
Aconite. Say the publisher for me.
Aconite.
Aconite. Thank you. I was going to do a D instead of an N. Aconite Books, everybody. And here are the first two volumes. Stuart wrote the first one, Target Kree, and Carrie Harris wrote Shadows Avenger, the second one. All three available now. So go to your local bookstore and or online and order the book. It's pretty great. And you don't necessarily need to read the first two volumes.
That's right.
If you want the full story, it's great. But a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun, and your favorite characters in the proper voice. Stuart knows what he's doing when it comes to handling Marvel. And looking forward to the Ahoy stuff coming up in the fall.
Yeah, that should be fun too. Yeah, it's I'm just glad to keep busy. Like I'm glad things are happening.
Well, we are too for you, man, as well.
Thank you.
So always a pleasure, Stuart.
Same here.
All you got to do is tap me on the shoulder, and we'll do another one. You know that.
I will. I'll take you up on that.
I appreciate it, buddy. Everybody, thanks a lot for watching. Next week on We're Balloon Live, I'll tell you what I've got already planned. Monday, I'm going to be talking to my friend Bill Detloff, and we're going to talk about boxing because, as everyone knows, it's a big passion of mine. Matthew Saad Muhammad was a fantastic 175-pound champion in a very competitive era during the 80s. Michael Spinks was still a light heavyweight back then. Lots of great fighters. So that's going to be on Monday night because Bill just wrote a biography of Matthew Saad Muhammad. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Wednesday, really excited because it's been a while since I've talked to him. The fantastic artist, Doc Shaner, is going to join me for a live conversation as well. So I hope you'll join us for that, and that'll be a lot of fun. That's what's already planned. I'll do my best for the holiday week and everything to get a few more people on. But in the meantime, thanks for watching. Everybody stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy. Have a great Memorial weekend, everybody. Memorial Day weekend.